grateful to be amongst all of you in that beautiful temple. And I'm going to try to share with you Srila Prabhupada's presence. So I want to tell you that we spent a week with dear Radha Swami in Govardhaniko village. And I become very, very immersed in the atmosphere of Govardhaniko village. I was a little fearful to come to Mumbai. And when I came here, I could see it's absolutely no difference. The same spiritual, full spiritual beauty and mood is here. And of course, I could realize that the beauty and the spiritual vision of Govardhaniko village and that beautiful Shri Gopinath temple, it's actually showing the inner spiritual beauty and realization that is in Maharaj's heart. And then I was also realizing that every little touch of paint, every beautiful little architectural details doesn't happen by chance, that it was for all of you a great challenge to make that spiritual beauty manifested. I was told that before it was just a hole in the beginning, and little by little, with your sincerity to assist Maharaj, the spiritual world became manifested. So thank you very much, Thank you for your service to Srila Prabhupada, to Radha Swami, and to all the conditioned souls, so they can come to that manifested spiritual world. And although not everybody is in the pure mode of goodness, whatever modes they are in, the seed of devotional service can be planted in their heart. So thank you very much. So today I was asked to share Srila Prabhupada. We did that in Govardhaniko village. It was to share with you Srila Prabhupada's schedule. I ask forgiveness to the devotees who already heard the lecture. It will be some of the same points, but we didn't complete the day. So today we're going to try to complete the day, but we'll see how it works. So an interesting thing about an acharya is that he doesn't waste a single moment. So let's see what Srila Prabhupada said about his schedule. He said, I write in the night. I get up at 12:30. I go to bed at 10:30, and I get up at 12:30. Then I finish my chanting, if there is any balance left, and then I begin dictating. And the morning, they take it, and they type. So this dictaphone is always with me. Wherever I go, so my writing book is never stopped. Maybe a few pages only, but something is there every day. And Prabhupada says, little drops of water wear the stone. So in that way, we have translated so many books. So we are going to go through Srila Prabhupada's schedule, but first, I want to read to you the amazing schedule of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, another great acharya in our line. And it's really amazing. That was when he worked at Jagannath Puri as a High Court judge. So we start the schedule at 8 o'clock in the evening. 8 o'clock to 10 he's taking rest. So remember how many hours he will rest. I'll ask you. 8 to 10 he takes rest. 10 to 4 o'clock in the morning he writes. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written so many wonderful books. And there was Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Srila Prabhupada. The three of them were actually building our ISKCON movement. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was the first one to translate into English, to send one little book about the life and precepts of Lord Chaitanya to McGill University in Canada. And you remember he had the vision. He had the vision across the Jalangi River from his home in Gudrum. He had the vision that one day a lot of Vaishnavas will come from all over the world, from America, from England, from Germany, from Russia, and they will sing the holy name. So before starting the schedule, let us meditate on one story that the Pujari of the house of Advaita Acharya told the devotee. He said he was actually a young man in the year 50s and so, and he was worshipping, he was a Pujari in the house of Advaita Acharya. And at that time, well, every month, or twice or once a month, a Bengali Vaishnav householder used to come, and who has been in the house of Advaita Acharya? Yes, a few. It's very, very holy place, huh? Very holy place. So at the back of the temple, you can see there are some sitting place where Lord Nityananda, Advaita Acharya, Lord Chaitanya were planning the Sankirtan movement. So that gentlemen, Vaishnav gentlemen, used to sit there and for a very long time chant very intensely the holy name and cry sometimes with great intensity. So the Pujari didn't want to bother him. He didn't ask him anything. And he used to come, you know, for many years like that. And one day, he didn't see him anymore. But a few years later, he saw a sannyasi, Vaishnav sannyasi from Bengal. And that Vaishnav sannyasi also came and sat at the back of the temple. And he was chanting with great intensity and crying. And then all of a sudden, the Pujari remembered, it's the same gentleman who was a householder years back. So when he was about to leave, this time he came to him and he asked him, dear sannyasi, may I ask you, what is the purpose of your praying with such great intensity? And that wonderful Vaishnav sannyasi told him, today I'm about to go to try to fulfill an impossible mission my spiritual master gave me. And then, because I'm about to try to fulfill that mission, I came to that place where Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and Advaita Acharya Prabhu were talking together to spread the holy name. I'm getting their blessings. And then he didn't see him for so many years. But many, many years later, he was getting quite old by the time. He heard a beautiful kirtan, very, very melodious, very pure kirtan. And then he came out, and he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Actually, Vaishnav were there. They were wearing dhotis, shaved head, tilak, but their skin were white. And he just remembered the prophecy of Bhaktivinoda. And he was running out of ecstasy, trying to talk to them, but he just couldn't speak English, and the devotees couldn't speak Bengali. But one devotee gave him a back to Godhead. So he opened the magazine, and with great astonishment, he saw the picture of his old friend, the Bengali Vaishnav sannyasi who used to come and pray at the house of Advaita Acharya. And then he couldn't believe it. And he thought he has succeeded in fulfilling the impossible mission of his spiritual master. And then he ran to the ISKCON temple to tell the story to the devotee. So let's go back with the schedule of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Then we say he was writing from 10 to 4 in the morning. Then to 4 a.m. to 4:30, he would take just a little rest. Then again, 4 to 7, he was chanting japa. 7 to 7:30 a.m., he was doing all his correspondence. 7:30 to 9:30, he was studying the Shastra. And then from 9:30 to 10, only half an hour, he was taking bath, a little prasadam milk, fruit, and 2 chapatis. And then from 10 to 1 p.m., he was going to discharge his court duties. Coming back home for 1 hour, from 1 to 2, he was refreshing at home. And again 2 to 5 p.m., again doing his court duties. Then 5 to 7, he was translating the Shastra. And 7 to 8 p.m., again taking bath, a little prasadam milk, some rice, and 2 chapatis. So let us see how many hours did Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur rest. Did you? I will cheat because I have the sheet. 2.5 hours. Of course, never to be imitated. But Acharya never wasted a moment. So Srila Prabhupada, as we saw, was resting for 4.5 hours most of the days. So we will start our journey together in Prabhupada's presence, mostly in the London temple, the first London temple, Sevenbury Place. So devotees were resting. It was a very narrow temple. It was about 3 or 4 stairs high, but it was very, very narrow. And devotees were sleeping everywhere, especially brahmacharis. In the stairs, they were sleeping in the bathroom. So Prabhupada used to do something very interesting. When it was night and everybody was sleeping, he used to go and walk amongst the sleeping brahmacharis. And he would be very eager to hear if anybody was chanting Hare Krishna in their sleep, because he knew how the time of death is difficult. And he was thinking, if the devotees can chant Hare Krishna while they are in an unconscious state, it will be very easy for them to chant Hare Krishna and to remember the Lord at the time of death. Something about how time was important for Srila Prabhupada. He always had a watch. And some devotees used to give him a watch. So the watch could be made of plastic. If the devotee was very poor, it would be a very, very cheap watch. And if the devotees were very wealthy, it could be a very opulent watch. So that's why he was always keeping track of time. And that's the story told by someone who actually didn't know who his parents were. His parents were probably very poor, and he was just left in the street when he was a small child. So he grew up as he could in very populated India. And when he was very small, he learned the art, the skill of being a thief. So he grew up and he became more and more qualified as a thief. And one day he saw the Back to Godhead magazine. And what caught his attention was Srila Prabhupada's watch. At that time, it was a very, very expensive watch. And that boy thought, I want that watch. So he went to the temple. He pretended he wanted to be a good devotee. He trained as a brahmachari. And he did all the manual service. And everybody thought he was really such a great Prabhu, a great devotee. So time went by, but he didn't get a chance to see Srila Prabhupada. But the day came when he could be in Srila Prabhupada's presence. So he came in the room and he sat in front of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was sitting under a low desk. And Srila Prabhupada gave him one of his looks, very deep, when he goes directly to your soul. And without saying a word, Srila Prabhupada looked at him and took his watch out and gave it to the boy. And the boy was so moved that actually he became a wonderful devotee. He never left. Somebody asked Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, do you know everything? And Srila Prabhupada said, I just know what Krishna wants me to know. And he did something else for that boy. That boy had to travel for his service and to get a passport. And there was one question to be filled in the document, name of your father. Then he came to Srila Prabhupada and he said, Srila Prabhupada, I cannot have a passport. I don't know the name of my father. Srila Prabhupada said, give me the document. He took a pen and in the case, the name of your father, he wrote, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. So the life of that boy was completely fulfilled. Let's go back to Srila Prabhupada's schedule. Srila Prabhupada said he was completing the balance of chanting in the morning. Then came time for the morning walks. So it was a very, very blessed time for us. You remember probably that in America, Srila Prabhupada got very sick and he went back to India to see an Ayurvedic doctor. And the doctor told him, you mainly have to do brisk morning walks and also to take massage every day. So the morning walk was every morning, and Srila Prabhupada was walking actually very, very fast. We had a hard time to follow in his footsteps. When I could in the beginning, I was always trying to squeeze in and to be just behind Srila Prabhupada and trying to follow in his footsteps. It was like a dance. So Srila Prabhupada used to do many things in the morning walks. Sometimes he would discuss philosophy. Sometimes he would just be silent. Sometimes he was chanting japa, or sometimes commenting about things he would see in nature or in the city. So one time he asked one devotee to play the role of a Mayavadi. And the devotee said yes. So Srila Prabhupada was taking the role of a Vaishnava. And they debated back and forth and back. And it lasted quite a long time. And guess who won? Who won? Yes, Srila Prabhupada won, but was he happy actually to win? Was he happy to win as a Mayavadi? No, he was not happy. Then he told the devotee, we are going to change. Now you are going to be the Vaishnava, and I'm going to be the Mayavadi. So again, back and forth, arguments, counter-arguments. And after a long time, one of them was defeated. And guess who won again? Srila Prabhupada won. And then he was very openly not happy to win. He said, you you have heard the arguments. So how come I defeated you? And he said something very interesting. He said, we should actually learn the philosophy of our opponents in order to defeat them. And interestingly enough, that argument was told by one devotee in Russia. It was on the 40th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada coming to Russia. And some very extraordinary devotees came on stage to tell us their story during the time they were persecuted by the KGB, the political secret police. So one of them was a cook for Krishna, and he came on stage, and he said, he told us the following story. Actually, he said, I was a KGB officer, and one day, my superiors came to me, and they gave me a book, and they said, you have to study that book. And you know which book it was? Yeah, yes, Bhagavad Gita, it is by Srila Prabhupada. And they said, you have to study that book very carefully. Take your time. Because we have to know the philosophy of our enemies in order to defeat them. Same argument Prabhupada gave. So our man was studying the book very, very carefully because he was a faithful servant of his country, the Soviet Union. But soon he got a big, big problem because by studying the book, he started to love the book. He couldn't find anything wrong with the book. So it took a long time. He had a list of devotees to be arrested. So he knocked at one door, and a lady devotee opened. And she got frightened. And he said, don't worry, I just have a question about Bhagavad Gita. And then he told her, by the way, you better move, because you're on the list to be arrested by the KGB. So try to find another flat quickly. So that was the same argument Srila Prabhupada told the devotee. On morning walks, one time he saw a statue in the park during the walk. And he asked the devotee, who is that man? So the devotees told that man is such and such. And Srila Prabhupada reflected. He said, you know, in order to get a little fame, that man has actually worked very, very hard all his life. He had been doing a lot of austerities. And what's actually the result? Once a year, if he's famous enough, one man will come and give a 5-minute talk, and another man will come with a broom. And with his broom, he will actually clean the pigeon's stool on the head of the statue. So he said, is it worth it? So morning walks, there was a very nice, some devotees are remembering different things during the morning walk. There is something in America, and it was very joyful. They were discussing something called the deprogramming program. Do you know what was the deprogramming program in America? You know? Who knows? Okay, so to make things short, it was actually a time when in America Krishna consciousness was considered by an anti-cult establishment as very dangerous for the young people. So the parents were hiring people, and these people were kidnapping the devotees, putting them in a hotel room, depriving them of sleep and food until they said, I give up this Krishna consciousness, I'll go back to my parents. So they were discussing this deprogramming, program. So Prabhupada said to the devotees, your parents do not like me. And Vishnu Jan Maharaj was there, and he told Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, you are like Narada Muni, you keep moving, they cannot catch you. And yes, Prabhupada says, yes, I travel so much, they cannot catch me. And then everybody laughed. Then Prabhupada said, but some of your parents are appreciating me. And then he turned to Brahmananda Swami, and he asked him, tell them the story about your mother. And Brahmananda Swami started laughing, giggling, he couldn't talk. So Prabhupada told the story. He said that one day, when they got initiated, he asked Brahmananda Swami and Gargamuni to pay the obeisances to the mother. So they felt, they were very big boys, and they felt a little embarrassed. But they did. And the lady came, the mother came, and she said to Prabhupada, she told him, you have taken my 2 sons, and you have turned them into monks. They've shaved their heads, and they wear robes. What else do you want? And Srila Prabhupada, with a big smile, told her, can you give me some money? And then and she says, oh, no, no. So everybody laughed, you know, amongst the devotees. It was such a joyful mood. And the devotees, they realized that Srila Prabhupada was really their true spiritual father. So morning walk was going on. Meanwhile, the ladies were cleaning Srila Prabhupada's room. And Prabhupada sometimes came early. But he would say to the ladies, don't worry, carry on. And sometimes he was giving some instruction. Some of the instruction showed that Prabhupada didn't want any waste. For example, devotees were taking off the flowers from the vases. And the flowers were still good. But Srila Prabhupada said, put them back, they're not spoiled, don't spoil them. You know, and he was giving so many different instructions during the service of the devotees. Then came time for the class. And I'll tell you something else also about the walks. So we know that on this beach in Bombay, he was discussing with Dr. Patel. You can read or hear about that. In Los Angeles on the beach, he was discussing scientific matters. Life comes from life with Swarup Damodar, who became Swami. And one time, I had a special walk with Srila Prabhupada. It was during the first week. I came with my 2 other friends from France to meet him and to foolishly tested Srila Prabhupada to see if he was a real bona fide spiritual master. We were very young, 19 years old, so proud and so foolish, full of impersonal philosophy, and we wanted to see if Prabhupada was a bona fide spiritual master. And he really tricked us. So something we read in the impersonal book was, at one point, your real spiritual master will say a special sentence, and you will understand that he's your true spiritual master, something very mystical. So we went on a walk like that in a London park called Russell Square. It was winter, it was December, very cold. And I was just walking near Srila Prabhupada. And all of a sudden he stopped. And he looked very intensely into my eyes. And I thought he's going to say that very special sentence. And I was very eagerly waiting. Then it took a long time, and then he said, "Are you cold?" And I looked at him, and And I was very disappointed, and I told him, no, Srila Prabhupada, I'm not cold. He was always tricking us like that. So then came the blessed time for Srimad Bhagavatam lectures. And at that time, Srila Prabhupada kept the classes quite simple, you know, mostly telling us how we were not this body, and speaking from Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. But it was really sublime. We used to sit at the bottom of his Vyasa-san, girls and boys, and it was so convincing. When we were hearing Srila Prabhupada, we had full realization that we were not these bodies. It was like he was opening a little window on the spiritual world. So after the class, it was time for breakfast. Srila Prabhupada used most of the time to take his meals alone. And breakfast, it was actually fruits that were in season in the country he was residing. So he used to have bananas in the West, oranges, apples. And after, when Srila Prabhupada finished his plate, it was a lot of remnants left. So devotees were waiting to have the remnants. The most advanced devotees were actually asking for the orange peels, you know, and just eating every day a little bit of orange peels. There is a very nice story about remnants that one dear God sister, Shruti Rupa, Devidasi, is telling. It happened during the last year of Prabhupada on the planet. She was cooking with another God sister called Palika Devidasi for Srila Prabhupada. They were a good team. And, but she had a big problem when time came to bring the remnants out. Because devotees were very picking, they were choosing. I want that samosa, I want that rasgulla. So she was getting fed up. And Srila Prabhupada, who knew the mind of his devotees, one time asked her, is everything all right? Do you have any problems? And then she said, Srila Prabhupada, it's getting very, very complicated when it's time to distribute your remnants. Then he told her, you know what you can do? You can mash everything. You can mix it and mash it. The rasgulla with the bitter melon, the Kerala, you mash everything. So she did it very, very happily. She mashed everything. Then she came with the plate outside Srila Prabhupada's room, and devotees got very surprised. And they were not so, you know, difficult. They just took a little. And when she went back to Prabhupada's room next day, he asked, how was it with the distribution of the Mahaprasad? And then she said, oh, Prabhupada, it was very nice. And then he said, that's how we used to do with the remnants of my spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So, then, like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Prabhupada was actually, after Prasadam, doing his correspondence. And you probably saw the books on Srila Prabhupada's letters. It's really fascinating if we want to learn about Srila Prabhupada's personality. It was actually so personal to every devotee. In Yadu Bara's wonderful film on Srila Prabhupada, we can see Shyamasundar Prabhu is showing a letter, a long, long letter written by hand, where amongst many, many subjects, where Srila Prabhupada takes the point and answers all the questions of the devotees, is actually telling about your wife, Melanie, who became Malati. You can give her that kind of a syrup for her cold, you know. the letters were very, very personal. And sometimes he gives contradictory instruction to one devotee and the other, just to encourage their spiritual life. There is one very nice letter written by hand in the beginning of the movement, where he writes to Yamuna Devi and Gurudas. The letter goes, he always says, my dear boy or my dear daughter. So he tells them, you have to become, to be very good boy and very good girl. And he tells Yamuna Devi, you are a little bit better than your sister Janaki, but don't get puffed up. You should have a lot of compassion. So these letters, they are so important. And in our time, we didn't have internet, we didn't have any technology. So we used to write to Srila Prabhupada on a little blue, very thin paper called aerograms. And it took about 2 or 3 weeks to reach him. And the answer would also take 2 or 3 weeks to come back. After that time, it was time for Srila Prabhupada to have this massage. So all the servants, they had to learn how to massage Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, like in the morning walk, would do different things during the massage, being quiet or talking. If the massage was too soft, he used to say, stronger, stronger, not like a woman on the beach. So for the servant, it was a very stressful time, because while he was massaging Srila Prabhupada, he was worrying, is the prasadam cooking going on nicely downstairs, you know? So as soon as Srila Prabhupada would have his massage completed, Prabhupada used to take a shower, and the servant would run downstairs and to see if everything was okay in the kitchen. And then he would come back and give Srila Prabhupada's clothes, you know, clean dhoti, clean kurta. So one time, Brahmananda Swami, at the time, I think, was the servant, and it was in Africa. So he went out to get the clothes on the line, but he became very surprised. Nothing was there anymore. But by Krishna's mercy, he had some other clothing for Srila Prabhupada ready in the room. So he told Srila Prabhupada what happened, but Srila Prabhupada didn't mention anything. Then it was time for class, I think Bhagavad Gita class, in the afternoon. So all the devotees came, devotees from Africa, young devotees. And Prabhupada was giving the class, and all of a sudden he started laughing a little. And he called Brahmananda, and he showed some devotees in the room. And one devotee had Srila Prabhupada's kurta, another devotee had his top piece, and another devotee had his dhoti. So after class, Brahmananda went to the devotees and asked them to give back, you know, Srila Prabhupada's clothes. But Srila Prabhupada didn't get angry, didn't take any offense. He was just laughing, you know. So many things happen with the cooking of Srila Prabhupada. I remember one story Yamuna told us. Srila Prabhupada used the cooking to teach the devotees. So one time, it was in India, it was in the year 74, and it was a very, very difficult time in Vrindavan for Yamuna Devi and the devotees, because the temple was supposed to be open. Krishna Balaram temple was supposed to be open, but devotees couldn't have it opened on time, because they were Westerners, and you know, with construction, how difficult things can be. especially neophyte Westerners who didn't have any experience. The bricks got stolen and so many things like that happened. Meanwhile, Srila Prabhupada was coming to every temple, and I remember it very well because it was in 74. He came to London Temple, and from the Vyasa-san, he just said, I invite all of you to come to Vrindavan. And for me, it was a big shock because we never dared to go to Vrindavan before. We read in Krishna book that Prabhupada said, you cannot go to Vrindavan by purchasing a ticket. So we didn't dare. And, but that time I heard Srila Prabhupada from his own mouth saying, I invite all of you to come to Vrindavan. So I became very, very enthusiastic, and I came to see my temple president, and we didn't have any Lakshmi whatsoever. So I told him, Prabhu, you heard what Srila Prabhupada said. He's inviting all of us to come to Vrindavan. Could I have some Lakshmi to get the ticket? And my temple president says, well, Mandakini, Prabhu, you didn't really understood what Prabhupada meant. So I couldn't accept it. So I went to the treasurer, and Prabhu, did you understand what Prabhupada said? We need to go to Vrindavan. Can you give me some Lakshmi for the ticket? And again, well, you really didn't understand what Prabhupada meant. He didn't mean this. So I couldn't take no as an answer. And I found only one devotee who understood it the same way as I did. It was Malati Prabhu. So she said, okay, this is what we are going to do. We're going to put some civil clothes, and we're going to go to the pubs at night with our charity tin. So we went to the pubs, and I remember asking the people there, our spiritual master wants us to go for pilgrimage to a holy place called Vrindavan in India. Can you give something, please? And people were so drunk. We had a big smile, and they just gave and gave and gave. And in 2 weeks, we got our ticket to go to Vrindavan. So Srila Prabhupada had been invited, not devotees from all over the world, but he also invited dignitaries, politicians. It was a big, big event. So he became very angry at the devotees, very disappointed. He became sick. And Yamuna Devi, although she was not responsible whatsoever, she was worrying a lot, and she felt her consciousness was not good at that time because of so much worried from different angles of vision. So she didn't want to see Srila Prabhupada, but she was called. Prabhupada wanted to see her. So she came, and he had some very esoterical conversation. Other devotees didn't really know why he was talking like that. But he told Yamuna, Lord Balaram asked the river Yamuna to come. And she didn't want to come because she thought Lord Balaram was intoxicated with the Varuni beverage. So Lord Balaram took his plow and he said, I'm going to make you into so many streams. And she became frightened and she came. And Prabhupada said, I'm Lord Balaram, I'm dragging Yamuna. And then she was asked to cook for Srila Prabhupada at this particular time. And she refused because she thought, my consciousness is not in the right place. Srila Prabhupada will notice immediately. But that was Prabhupada's turn. Again, he didn't take no as an answer. And she had to cook. And all of you have seen Yamuna's cookbook. maybe some of you got the great blessing to taste Yamuna's cooking. I know Maharaj tasted Yamuna's cooking. I think she made for you wonderful chapatis with different colors, I heard. You know, beetroot for the red, puffed up chapatis, spinach for the green, and so on. So anybody who tasted Yamuna's cooking, not only was it beautiful, but it was completely spiritual. It was so delicate, subtle. And she mastered completely the art of making chapatis. She used to go to Lloyd Bazaar and know where to get the flour from the fresh ground wheat berries. And she knew what kind of wood to put under the fire so it wouldn't cook too slow or too quick. It wouldn't burn. So then of course, the chapatis, they became like balloon. She put a little ghee. And Prabhupada used to like to put his finger in the chapatis so the smoke will come out. The servant was bringing chapatis one by one. So the chapatis were exactly done in that perfect manner. But the servant came and he said, Yamuna Devi, Srila Prabhupada didn't like your chapati. And immediately Yamuna could reflect. She was so introspective. And she said, yes, Prabhupada is teaching me. It's the consciousness. He said, he's seeing my consciousness and he's teaching me that he doesn't only eat the food, and he doesn't relish only the taste, but he's relishing the consciousness with which we perform our devotional service, whatever it is. So then the servant who was a sannyasi said, actually, Srila Prabhupada told me to teach you how to make chapatis. So Yamuna is so humble and she understood everything. So she says, yes, Maharaj. So our Maharaj started to take the rolling pin, and he was rolling and he made quite good rectangles. And then he put them on the fire and it was a little burnt. And then he took to Srila Prabhupada. Then he came down and he told Yamuna Devi, Srila Prabhupada likes my chapati. That's how you should do chapati. And then she understood, Srila Prabhupada is teaching me, I have to be, to cook with a different consciousness. So this beautiful cooking for Srila Prabhupada. Actually, I'm sorry, we are not going to finish again Srila Prabhupada's schedule. I just will finish about again a cooking story. One time it was in Bhaktivedanta Manor. Srila Prabhupada stayed almost 1 month. It was so special. I'd been learning from in Bury Place from very nice ladies coming from India, different cooking preparations, and hoping one day to be able to cook for Srila Prabhupada. So I heard at that time that Srila Prabhupada said, I would like to go back to the spiritual world to eat loglu and kachoris. And you remember from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita how he used to go to the little shops in the street of Calcutta. They were selling kachoris, and he used to put the kachoris in his pockets, It was called kachori mukhi. So I became very enthusiastic about learning about this kachori. And that lady from Bengal, she taught me how to do peas kachori. So I got the opportunity to cook in Bhaktivedanta Manor for Srila Prabhupada at that time. And Prabhupada had this beautiful brass cooker. steam bath cooker that we can see in Govardhaneko village in his kitchen. So we used to cook everything in this brass cooker. The basic was dal, rice, chapati, 2 sabjis, 1 wet, 1 dry, kerela every time, bitter melon, and a sweet. And we could do anything extra we wanted. So one day, I just thought I'm going to try to make the kachoris. So I made them and brought them into Srila Prabhupada's room on the 1st floor at Bhaktivedanta Manor. When I brought the plate, Srila Prabhupada's eyes became very big. And in his eyes, I could see the expression of the small young boy Abhay Charan in the streets of Calcutta. And Prabhupada said, Mandakini, you have made kachoris? And I said, I tried, Srila Prabhupada. And I was cooking every day like that, different things. But except for the kachoris, I didn't get any feedback. So I was wondering, does Srila Prabhupada like this cooking or not, you know? Of course he was eating, but does he like it? I didn't have the answer. So Srila Prabhupada was always playing with us to increase, to increase our love for the spiritual master. And when we were giving this love, he was actually giving this love to his spiritual master and up to Krishna. So the final day came when Srila Prabhupada was going to leave to go to another place. And we had been for Srila Prabhupada for almost 1 month, following his schedule like that, day by day. And at that time, I remember, I thought, it's going to be so hard, it's going to be impossible, that separation. And I was still thinking, does Srila Prabhupada like this cooking or not? But the servant, it was Shruti Kirti Prabhu, came just the night before Srila Prabhupada left. It was quite late, and he came with a big sheet of paper. And he says, Srila Prabhupada wants you to make all this for the plane. And it was all the preparation, special preparation I'd been making during the month. And so many of them. And it was like Prabhupada responding, you know, and in a very playful mood. So I called all my friends in the kitchen, and we worked quite late at night. Even Srila Prabhupada wanted to go with the kachori, some red plum chutney that we call Radha red. So we went to Lechmohis, to the little village, and we awoke the grocery shop owner. And I told him, I'm so sorry to wake you, but our spiritual teacher wants some red plums. Please, can you give us? And he came. He was a very gentle, nice British gentleman. He woke up and he sold us some red plums. So everything was completed. It was already late in the night. And at that time, I felt such a strong feeling of separation. I thought I couldn't leave if Srila Prabhupada was not going to be with us anymore. And I took that brass cooker and I started polishing it like crazy. And it was shining like gold. And I thought, in the plane, when the brass cooker, Srila Prabhupada is going to see the brass cooker, he's going to notice a change. And he's going to think, who has done that? And then he will know, he will say, it's my foolish, little stupid disciple, Mandakini, who did that, you know. And I thought, for that time, he will see that, he will think like that, separation won't be there. And it was so hard. I couldn't even go to the airport. I had some services. But by Krishna's grace, you know, that very intense feeling stop at one point to have me realize Prabhupada was still present in separation, in service. And I could carry on, Krishna consciousness as usual. So, dear Prabhu, I think we have to stop. We cannot complete the day, but we went further than in Govardhaneko village. So, I don't know, maybe it's time. If you have any little question, I can try, or whatever you think. It's already 9:30, and you have so many beautiful duties. Yeah. Or maybe Maharaj has graced us. Maybe he wants to add something. So, again, thank you very much. I'm so happy, honored, and grateful to be here. It's a wonderful family, wonderful congregation. And again, by Radha Swami's grace, you have worked so hard to reveal Krishna's spiritual beauty, Krishna's kingdom, in such an intimate mood. So all of us who just come, we feel so happy. It's just like we are practicing for the spiritual world. Being here with you or being in Govardhaneko village, I'm feeling I'm practicing for the spiritual world in the company of such wonderful, caring, loving devotees. And, you have taken full shelter and inspiration of your dear spiritual master, who is one of Srila Prabhupada's most dear son. Hare Krishna. It's okay.